This call is
Thank
now
you.
being recorded. This call is now being transcribed.
All right, amazing. So thank you all for staying with me so far. I'm glad I could get a second screen, and let's move right into it. I'm also sorry for the delay. It was totally unforeseen. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying so far. So, like I was saying, the design principles. Can we have a recap? Can someone unmute, please? If you can unmute and read out the principles that we talked about, please just read out these 6 principles. Anybody, please.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Joel.
Yeah, so the principles you mentioned earlier are balance, proximity, alignment, repetition, contrast, and hierarchy.
Amazing. Thank you. So the issue now is we give ourselves a target of 7 p.m. I will still try and see if we can meet that target. And once it's 7 p.m., like I said, I'll be giving us a short task to do. We'll send the our assignment, like after we've done it and worked up on it, we'll send it to the group. So send it to the WhatsApp group immediately. Immediately are done with the assignment. I will send it. So let's still work towards 7 p.m. So it will be just like it's a task for us to do and to see how well we can go. So it's going to be based on the design principles we'll be looking at just now. So let's dive right into it. Balance. So if you can see my screen, balance means the amount of visual weight on each side of the design. What exactly that means, I will still show us. There's a graphic that will show us that. So this document is not mine. I got it. I can't remember where I got it from. I'm sure it was probably a free training I attended. So I would also share it to the group. I will share it to the group. It's very nice. It's really comprehensive, and this is honestly the secret. This is honestly the secret. It says your design needs to have a sense of balance. Each side does not need to be perfectly symmetrical, but the amount of visual weight on each side should feel cohesive and intentional to create this feeling of balance. When I was growing, of course, I'm still growing, but I think 2020 or 2021, one of my design mentors, Olamide Olalekan, the CEO of Bizcamp Nigeria, you can check them on LinkedIn, Bizcamp Nigeria. He's one of my design mentors, although because I've been busy with school recently, I've not really been so much involved in design. So, but when I did a design and I sent it to him. I think I asked him to help me critique it, to help me talk about it and see if was okay for me to share. And he was like, okay, he looked at an element I put there and he was like, okay, what's this element for? Why do you put this element here? Maybe it was like maybe a flower or something. And I honestly I couldn't answer. I was like, well, I just felt it should be there. I just felt it here. It was like you can remove it. If it's not performing any function, remove it. And the secret about design. People don't know. People think it's just about how many things you put on it, like how many effects you put on it. That's what makes your design beautiful. But no, everything, you have to be intentional with everything. And that's why this slide says each side, the visual weight on each side should feel cohesive and intentional. So you are putting everything everywhere for a purpose. You are putting this text here because you know it needs to be here. You're putting this picture of this model here because you feel it would attract people's attention towards this particular event on the design. Everything has a purpose in design. Everything. Of course, some elements might be there to beautify the design. Of course, normal. That's true. But you shouldn't just put an element in a design because you feel it should be there. Like there's no concise reason. You just feel okay, maybe you saw it on another design, and then you feel since you made this design beautiful, it also make my own beautiful. Well, you might be wrong. Let's move on. We'll see examples now. So now we talked about visual weight in the previous slide. What exactly does visual weight mean? Visual weight means the elements on a design that attract attention. So you see a design, what's the first thing that catches your attention about that design? That's the meaning of visual weight. That's the heaviest in quote element on that design. So now, what are the determinants of visual weight? We have color. We can read it. Bolder, brighter colors carry more visual weight. I don't want to cover our time. We won't be able to go through everything, but I'll send the document to the group. I'll just give us like the summary and the important points to note. So there are some elements in a design that are very important, and there's some elements in a design that are not so important. In a design, the theme, the topic, the title of the design is very important. The time when the events will occur is very important. If there's going to be a price tag, and now everything I'm saying now, when you start checking designs that are nice, you start seeing these things there, you start noticing that, oh wow, so that's why this guy used a red background for the price, so that you can easily notice it. Do you get, like, everything has, so those are the important things in a design, and so those things should have more visual weight. And so now balance now comes when the items that have high visual weight are placed rightly on your design. They're placed in the right position, and so such that it's not divided attention. There's a flow. So when people see a design, their eyes first look at the title, then maybe they look at the picture of the convener, then that one too is directing them to look at the venue, the date, the time, and then maybe the price. So that's balance really. So now let's look at examples. So balance basically speaks of symmetry. We have we can see the types of symmetry, examples of symmetry on the slide. So it's like, if in the first box that we have, there's a horizontal line. Elements are placed on that horizontal line, and so some of the elements are displaced above the line, some below the line. And the next one talks about a vertical line, and we can see elements again aligned. So we'll talk about we'll still go to alignment later on anyway. So, but basically what I'm just trying to say from here is your design should not be confusing. That's balance. That's what balance really means. So when people see your design, they know where to focus on, they know the important information, they know where to move. After seeing this point here, they know the next point to look at. And so that's balance. We'll look at examples. So symmetrical and asymmetrical balance. I'll send the document, you can read it up later. So now, okay, sorry for that break. So now, both symmetrical and asymmetrical balance they are both types of balance. So, but like I said, the most important thing is that your work is easy to access. People see your work and they're not confused. They can easily access the information they need and move on. So here we have an example of symmetrical balance. This looks like all these news articles and all. So we can see that if there's an imaginary line run through the symmetrical balance design, we can see that elements are equally placed on both sides of the line, right? Then on the asymmetrical part, if there's an imaginary line placed through the center, let me draw. Let me try and annotate. Um, okay, it's no, I'm not able to get that. But okay, just look at the cursor. Can we see the cursor? Okay, we're not able to see it. So if imagine the asymmetrical design, imagine a line is drawn through the center. Then we'll see that the elements on the right side will not be equal to the elements on the left side, right? Unlike the symmetrical balanced design. And so, but both of them still perform their function, and they have their own specific functions where they will work. So that's that. So we'll still look at examples. Okay, white space. Would okay, let's look. It's very important. White space, or the amount of negative space where no design element takes up room, is a design element in itself. You can use white space to balance out your design. Completely filling your page with crap won't help balance your design. In fact, it makes it feel unprofessional and overwhelming. White space is your friend. Use it as much as you can. So white space doesn't mean that every design must have a part of it that is white. No. What white space means is that there are some parts of your design that don't need to have elements. Now, let's use an example of the design we used for this event. Please, if you are still with me, type following. I want to be sure people are following. I know I've been a bit uncoordinated because of the issue I had with screen sharing, but just type following if you are with me so far. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad you are following so far. So now look at the design that we trended for this event. You see the elements, and you see how I worked with balance. Now imagine there's a diagonal line drawn across. I wish I could annotate. I don't know why it's so difficult. Google Meet on Zoom, it's easier to annotate your screen on Zoom, but here it's a problem. It will take me somewhere else by wanted to annotate. So, but imagine. Let's go back to the picture. So imagine if there was a vertical line, or I mean a diagonal line. Diagonal simply means like slanting line. So put it simply. So imagine there was a slanting line through this design. From the top where you have that King David designs down to the bottom where we have for sponsorship and inquiries. Now you notice something. You see that at the top right corner, I put tools recommended. And if you notice very well, you see that it's in a way is balanced with at the top, at the bottom left corner, I put the date, the venue, the time. You can see that there's a balance there. The top right corner is balanced with the bottom left corner. Now again, if there is a vertical line from top to bottom, vertical, you see that on the bottom left side, you have the date, venue, and time. On the bottom right side, you have for sponsorship and inquiries, contact, blah, blah, blah. Then at the middle, like if you saw the design tool I used, you'll see that my picture is placed almost exactly on the middle of the design. So if a line is drawn through the picture, half of the picture is on the right side, half of the picture is on the left. That's balance. That's exactly. So I think I don't say much about that. So please, I would like to request for a 10-minute extension. So we'll have the assignment by 7:10, not 7 o'clock again. I hope that's okay with everyone, because we need to cover all the elements before we proceed. So if a line, like I said, if a line is drawn across vertically, my picture is half of my picture is on the left side, half of it is on the right side. That's what balance means. If there's a diagonal line drawn from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, you see some elements on one side and some elements on the other side. That's balance. If a line is drawn diagonally the other way, you still see balance there. So that's balance. So now let's move to the next principle. I hope we are gaining something from this. So that's balance. Okay, tips for using balance in your design. I think this is important. Font pairings rely almost completely on asymmetrical balance. Pairing one dominant font, like one font that's bold or draws more attention, like a brush font or calligraphy font, with a more subtle basic font, like a sans serif, will create a perfect font pairing by using asymmetrical balance to your benefit. So now let's look at the example. Look at this lovely couple. That's a lovely font pairing and lovely design. It's simple, but it's lovely. Now here, there are two elements that are playing here. We have contrast and we have balance. So, and here they almost mean the same thing. Contrast here means that you're using two different fonts, so they are not the same font. So we can easily, like, our eyes flow easily from lovely to couple because they are different, and then we can see that love, that the font itself like signifies the meaning of lovely, and then the word couple is easily read with the font there. So then for balance, like they said in the write-up, using the dominant font which draws attention and a more subtle font, it gives us an asymmetrical balance. So we're not using the same font, then we can easily like read the design and we love the design when we see it. That's balance. So now let's move. So I'll send this design. You can't go through everything. I'm sure we can now begin to see why I had to make this masterclass 3 hours. It's not just I just looked at it, and really 3 hours won't be enough, but just to pass as much information as we can in one day, because it won't be really convenient to have it maybe over a period of days. I just want to be once and for all. And of course, learning never stops, so we'll continue learning as the journey continues. So proximity is number 2. Oh, when did we enter proximity? Okay, here. Proximity. It says group related items together so that it is visually clear they are related. This helps create organization within your design, which causes information to be remembered more easily. Our brains love organization. So when a graphic is organized appropriately, it's both visually appealing and easier to consume. Now let's go back to our event flyer for this event. Proximity. The text for host. We have host, my name, and then award-winning graphic designer. And then we have a tick beside it. We can see that all these islands are close together. So that automatically tells you that who is the host, Boluwatife Elusiyan, and who is award-winning graphic designer, the Boluwatife Elusiyan. So it just, when you see them together, you know you are not confused is the design saying that when you join this training you become an award-winning graphic designer, or what does that award-winning graphic designer mean? No, you automatically understand that that caption is referring to the host, which is Boluwatife Elusiyan. Now look again. We have the date, venue, time close together. When you see them, when you see them close together, you already know, okay, these are the details of this event. So if you're going to attend, of course, you need to know the dates. You need to know where it's going to be holding. You need to know what time it's going to be holding. And so that's proximity again coming to play. So that's one important thing in design. When we have a design that we're working on, we must take note of proximity. Items that are related should be together. And when you look at, so all these things now, the important point I'm saying all these things is so that when we look at other designs, we can understand why they work, and then we can appreciate them and probably replicate them in our own designs also. So now look at this. This is a business card. I think we don't have to talk too much on this. The circles are together. That's a separate group. We have the phone number, the website, the email address together. Proximity. Then we have the business, the work of the person, graphic design. Maybe it's an organization business card. So some other people, it might be marketing consultant, some people it might be HR manager, that kind of thing. So that title directly under the name, it automatically tells you who this person is. Toto Dake is the graphic designer. So now let's move on. So alignment. Now this is this, I love alignment so much. It's not the most important, but I really love alignment. Every design element placed in your graphic design should be visually aligned to something else on the page, whether that's the side of the page, the edge of an image, the text that's above it. Nothing should be placed arbitrarily on the page. So now look at what that means. Left aligned, centered, and right aligned. This is very important in design, friends. This is very important in design. Now let's go back to our example. Now look at the left-hand side of the design. You would notice something that you probably didn't notice before. Every item on that left side, from King David at the top, King David designs at the top, down to time, you see that if you draw a line at the side, you see that everything is on a single imaginary line. Can we see it? If you can see it, please type yes in the comment section. Amazing. Beautiful. So now everything you see, so I've not mentioned design to maybe Canva, pixel art, because that's not the important thing. The important thing is knowing why these designs work. So we can see alignment. If you check design again, you will see like alignment. My picture being in the center is part of alignment. It's balanced too, but it's also alignment. So there's some things that will be center aligned, some things will be aligned to the left, to the right. That's basically how design should be. So everything should be aligned to something. That's the rule of thumb. Everything should be aligned to something in a graphic design. And so in the simple assignment I'll be giving us, we'll see how that plays out too. So tips for using alignment. I'll send this document. Don't let's spend too much time. Repetition. Quite a lot of time we'll skip repetition. Is not so important for us right now. But let's look at the example. Should be an example. Okay, well, there was even an example here. It said, okay, now. Oh, okay, repetition. I understand what it means. We'll come back to it later. We don't have time for it now. Now let's look at contrast. Now I think contrast and the last element, which is hierarchy. I think they are the two most important elements we need. So look at contrast now. It says, if two items are not exactly the same, make them different. This creates more interest on the page and makes certain elements stand out among the rest. This also creates visual hierarchy, which aids in the organization of the design. Let's move on. We'll discuss it. Now, tips for using contrast in your design. Colors. By using contrasting colors, you are able to make certain design elements pop in relation to others. So now let me explain what contrast means. If you have been following the class well so far, you already have an idea of what contrast means. Contrast is using different design elements to signify different contents, different types of contents. Let's look at our example. Okay. Now we have again. Let me use the date, venue, and time at the bottom left corner. Now we'll see the text for dates. I made it capitalized, and venue and time. So you can see in that way now there's already a form of repetition in that side. Date, venue, time, and capital letter, all in capital letter. Then to the details of those texts, you see that they're in normal font and then they are boldened. So everything comes together. There's a sense of cohesiveness in the design, because everything, if all the fonts that I use there is the same font, the font was Trap. That's the name of the font, Trap. It's the same Trap font, but I used it creatively in different ways, such that the date was capitalized, venue capitalized, time capitalized. When the details, Saturday 29th of July, was normal font but boldened. Google Meet, normal font but boldened. Then the time, 6 p.m., normal font but boldened. So now we can see that in that way it has created a bit more interest in the design. It makes the design look more appealing to the eye. Why? Because I've made the elements a bit different from each other. So you can see all these things work together. So while you are trying to put contrast in the design, you must not forget balance. You must not forget alignment. Do you understand? So everything works together to create that beautiful design that we need and that we are all looking to create. Let's look at another example. Oh, beautiful. For sponsorship number, the phone number, you can see that it is blue. Different from the color, the white color. That's contrast is different, a difference. So that's why we what's an example of that now? Contrast is a popular example that people that we normally use. Okay, I think it's okay. So colors basically now. So there's some colors that okay in creation of slides. I know we have probably seen some slides. Maybe I don't want to throw a unnecessary shade, but maybe we see a slide. Someone is making a presentation, and then you see their slide. You cannot read the text well, and what you say that slide has poor contrast. What does that mean? That means the colors are clashing. Is either the background is of the design of the slide is white, and then the person is using maybe yellow font. How do you want to read yellow font on a white background? Or the background is brown, and then you're using a color that is not easily readable on the design. Then we see that design has that slide has poor contrast. It's the same thing in design. So contrast is basically elements having something different about them. So it might be the color, it might be the font size, it might be the weight of the font, it might be the shape. Do you understand? So that's contrast. It's very important. That's why I spend so much time on it. It's very important. So now let's look at some examples. Contrast can be in colors. You can see the difference here now. So 2 items. Number 1, maybe this one. Maybe, for example, if you are designing an infographic now, maybe the first point is health. So that health, instead of that first number 1, you put health. Then instead of so the text is white, but the background is wine or this fuchsia pink. The text is white, background is fuchsia pink. Then second point might be maybe the environment. So the text again will be white, but the background now is gray. That's already contrast. So you know that. So the person is saying, okay, knows that okay, this is a different segment. When you see that health, okay, everything on that this is about health. When you see environment, okay, everything on that this is environment. When you see that color again on the document, they will know that I saw it somewhere else earlier, and then automatically they might not be conscious about it, but automatically their brain begins to align and begins to recognize and then put things in their right place. So font is another area of contrast. You can read that later. Please, it's very important. Please, let's go over this document. Like I said, learning doesn't stop now. This 3 hours is not enough. That's just the fact, because we have overshot our 7:10 boundary, but we'll soon go to the assignment, the practice section now. 3 hours is not enough, but let's make sure to go over this material after this class. I would say it's very helpful, and as we continue on our design journey, we can always go back, refer back to it. Very important. So next, hierarchy. Now, I think, in my opinion, this is the biggest mistake designers make, especially when starting out, or one of the biggest: hierarchy. So you see a design, and everything on design has the same, like everything on design looks the same, and so you don't even know where to focus on first. I saw a design on Facebook. I'll try and see if I can get design during our break, and I'll show it to us in the next after the break or after the practice session. So that design, it was pixel art the person used though, but you don't even know where to start. You don't know where to start looking from. You don't know like what is important. Of course, you can start remembering balance again now. So everything is related, like I said. But hierarchy is more about a system. Like let's read it: a system of organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. That's like the layman definition. So now in design, it said hierarchy, when implemented, literally creates a path for your eye to move around the page. Yes, you can in fact control how the viewer consumes your graphics. Viewers will start with the most dominant feature of your graphic, then move to the next dominant and to the next until they have looked over the entire thing. Now let's look. So now I think we should, at this point, let's talk about where the ways hierarchy plays out. A major way hierarchy can play out is in what appears at the top of your design. Again, example, the journey to pro. That's the first thing. So when you look at design, naturally as human beings, we know that, okay, when you're looking at the design, I mean, we're not naturally, like, as we are used to designs already. So when we see a design, the first thing we want to look at the top. We want to start reading of the design from the top. So it makes sense that the title or the topic of your design should be at the top. Now, of course, this does not have to be in all situations or in all scenarios that the topic must be at the top. No, but when you're just starting out, especially, it's good to be on the safe side. Put your topic on top. So that's what first thing that people see. Then we now see that there are actually some elements even before that topic, that the journey to pro. We have King David designs, we have presents. But when you look at the design, because the journey to pro is very big, because it's very important, because it has greater hierarchy. When you look at the journey to pro, then it's after you have seen that, then your eye will now be directed to see, okay, there's actually some text above it too. So that's when you now see, oh, okay, it is King David Design that is presenting this masterclass. Do you understand? So hierarchy is basically how your design guides the eye of the viewer, and it's very important in design. Now look at I'm going to talk about this. The who is this masterclass for? The white rectangle with rounded edges. Hierarchy again. The topic, who is this masterclass for, is eye-catching, is in bold font, capital letters, so you can easily, so that, I mean, you at first, when you see long text listed like that, you don't want to read it, but when you see that, who is this masterclass for, in bold, you know, oh, okay, that means this information below it is important for me to consume. And then immediately after reading that, your eye is guided to read the information below it. So that's how that principle was applied there again. That's hierarchy. Who is this master class for is on top, then it's also bigger, bolder, capital letters compared to the text below it. That's hierarchy. So now in hierarchy, and like I said, I think I said it's like the biggest mistake designers make, especially when starting out. Everything doesn't have to be big. Every element, people might have to zoom in to view some elements on your design, and that's okay, especially if there are many information you have to put. That's fine. That doesn't make your design less functional. It's just that you had so much things to put on it, but because you have so much things and then you now make everything the same size, no, that's a terrible design, and nobody will want to view it. People will see the design and feel, okay, your brand doesn't have class, or your brand is not worth their money or worth their time if it's an event you're organizing. So everything doesn't have to be big. The fact is that if your design is good, and people would zoom in to check the detail. If there's a detail that they cannot see well, they will zoom in to check it. But if the design is, everything is big they will be scared away from it. They will not even take time to even check what the title is about or who is hosting it. So it's very important, this hierarchy. Please, if you're not getting anything from here, and the assignment, the task will be giving us right now, we'll talk about that in detail. We'll dwell on that. Hierarchy, very important. Everything does not have to be the same size. Please, this is like the most important part of this discussion. Something should be bigger, something should be smaller. That's just it. So the things that are more important are bigger, things that are less important are smaller. And then because your design is well structured, well aligned, everything flows. So even though it is small, the viewer must read it because their eye is naturally guided to it. So that's I think, let's just look at the examples. Now look at this. Everything is the same size. You read it too because it's text, and at least they try. They use they use the same font throughout, and so it's not so confusing. So even though, of course, if you are using hierarchy and then you are using contrast, you might make it beautiful and add some other fonts. But this is also something I should have mentioned. I'll mention it later. It's also important in design that um you don't use too many fonts. That's a rule of thumb. If a design shouldn't doesn't need more than three fonts. In fact, three sometimes might be too much. That's one thing that my teachers kept telling me, my mentors, they kept telling me in design, you don't need more than two fonts. You don't need more than two fonts. You don't need that's what they kept telling me. So I think they tried using only one font. So you can easily read this text, right? But now let's establish hierarchy. Look at this. I think I heard someone saying wow. Yes, exactly. Wow. So you can see that compared to this, you know your eye knows where to go first. Your eye, you remember you because you can remember the fonts, you can remember the style. You there's no way you won't remember this this corrected design now. You can say save the date. Then for the marriage job, that's not so important. But when you read it, of course, you know that it leads to the next point. Who are the people getting married? Sade and Shegun. Then, of course, next thing you want to know what's the location. You are even though this is in smaller fonts, the fonts may not be in quote as fine. Although I love it, the font anyway. I really love fonts like this. But even though it's not as big as the other fonts, your eye is guided naturally to it, and then you know that okay, where is the wedding holding? Akobo, Ibadan, July 1, 2019. I think that gives us a clue that I took this training in 2019 or 2020. I think it was probably 2020 anyway. So thank you. So now we'll be going straight to our design practice session, and we'll have 10 minutes for it. So we'll start by 7:25. But now let's just look at the design, then we'll go to it straight away. Done. I sent these files. If I find them on my phone. Let's hold on, please. I'm trying to. I thought I sent the files already, so surprised I can't find them there. Okay, they didn't send. Oh, try. Not sending. Okay. They didn't send for some reason. So I will send them now. Can we hear me, please? Coming through. Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you. I really don't know what's wrong with the network. One. Okay. Well, let's continue. So I've tried to get the other screen back up, but I'm still having problems with that. So, but since we can see my screen, let's progress. Okay. So now look at this design. Can we see my screen, please? If you can, please say yes. All right. Thank you. So now look at this. I saw this design when um I was listening to music with my not pro Spotify account and or not premium Spotify account, and this ad came on, and I just saw the picture, and oh wow, amazing! This we can use this for the design training. So now look at it. You can see all the design elements that all the design principles we'll be talking about. And note, this is Spotify. Spotify is one of the biggest brands in the world right now, and this is a design gotten directly from their app. This is a design they're actually using. Can you see how simple it is? But some people will see this design and they will upgrade to premium. Why? Because it drives the message across and it still carries that class, even though it looks simple. Now, what are the elements they apply? Look at the hierarchy, look at the contrast. Tuning without limits. That's like their selling point. That's the whole point of the design. So they're saying tuning without limits. So when you see that, you are, oh wow. So I can actually listen without getting to hear this ad, this annoying ad. And so when they click, when they see that, then their eyes now guided. Okay, how do I access it? Download and listen to music ad free. How? Upgrade to premium. So now upgrade to premium. You can see the high contrast placed on it. The color is purple. There's a purple background in of that square or of that, I mean, of that rectangle, and then we have the text upgrade to premium written on it. So in that we can see the way it is like has a high contrast, and then we can now see the logo and then premium at the top of the design. So we can, this is an example of a simple but nice design. It drives the points home. So now this is going to be our assignment. I'll send to the group now. So we have 10 minutes between now and 7:40. We have 10 minutes to replicate this design. Whatever app you are using, either um, Pixel Lab, either Canva, Adobe Illustrator. Please try and replicate this design and send to the group in next 10 minutes. I'll send it to the group now, and I'll send the logo as well. So the fonts you use a sans serif font, a font that looks like this basically. And if you don't have any, use at least you have Arial font. So use Arial font or Calibri. If you don't have any other sans serif font that looks like this, use Arial or Calibri. Then the one that is bold, make it bold. Let's just see how well we have learned the principles. And look at the alignment again. Everything is to the left side. I'll talk more on that when we resume. So we'll be back here on this call by 7:40. Good luck.